reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. Jesus said to his disciples, "There will be signs in the sun, the moon, and the stars, and on earth nations will be in dismay, perplexed by the roaring of the sea and the waves. People will die of fright in anticipation of what is coming upon the world, for the powers of the heavens will be shaken. And then they will see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. But when these signs begin to happen, stand erect and raise your heads, because your redemption is at hand. Beware that your hearts do not become drowsy from carousing and drunkenness and the anxieties of daily life, and that day catch you by surprise like a trap. For that day will assault everyone who lives on the face of the earth. Be vigilant at all times, and pray that you have the strength to escape the tribulations that are imminent, and to stand before the Son of Man." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Jesus Christ. Sisters and brothers, again we begin a new message series in conjunction with the small faith-sharing groups that meet throughout the week to continue the conversation and the dialogue, hopefully begun with the deacon and I giving the message. The name of the series again is Celebrate the Year of Mercy, Be Merciful Like the Father. Today we talk about God's justice is merciful and his mercy is just. In the first reading from the book of Jeremiah, at the very end, it states, God is our justice. And I know that's a hard sell, my brothers and sisters, when we have a gospel reading so intimidating as the one we just heard the deacon proclaim. Jesus is coming at the end of time to judge us. People are going to be dying of fright. And you say, Father, how are you going to convince us that God is all-powerful, all-merciful, all-just, all-righteous, all at the same time? Well, I'm going to do that in a way that proves the maxim once again that I've repeated many times, no good deed ever goes unpunished. What is the good deed that's going to get punished today? Well, in the aftermath of the variety show, some people made the mistake of complimenting me on my singing. I fulfilled a fantasy. I did a rock song with the McLeod family. And people who made the mistake of saying, you know, Father, you didn't sound half bad. I can hear my earthly father, God rest his soul, up in heaven saying, don't encourage him. So everything's been a song. Been hearing songs, listening to songs. The messages have been leaping out at me. But I heard a song that is very, very spiritual, no matter how you slice it. I thought this song was originally an old Southern Baptist hymn, like Amazing Grace or something. But in doing my research for the homily, I found out that it was released in 1965 and was written by Curtis Mayfield when he was part of a trio called the Impressions. I became familiar with it when Rod Stewart covered it with Jeff Beck. It's called People Get Ready. And I'm just going to sing, thankfully, just the opening verse, which encapsulates how God is just, perfectly just and merciful all at the same time. So let's see if I can do this here. People get ready, the trains are coming. Don't need no baggage, you just get on board. All you need is faith to hear the diesels humming. Don't need no ticket, you just thank the Lord. No applause, please. No. Let's review. People get ready. The trains are coming. Don't need no baggage. You just get on board. All you need is faith to hear the diesels humming. Don't need no ticket. You just thank the Lord. Keep those things in mind, and keep these two things in mind when we're talking about justice and mercy. Another word for justice is righteousness. Let's use that word for a little while. And also remember that God doesn't care too much about the past. He's all about what's happening now. God's kingdom is perfectly just and righteous. Therefore, everybody in God's kingdom truly loves and serves God and each other. There's no room for selfishness for anybody who dwells in God's kingdom. Remember the prodigal son. When he wanted to go wayward, he knew enough that he had to leave his father's house because there was no place for that kind of selfishness under his father's roof. So how does God establish perfect righteousness and at the same time keep our free will intact It's very important that he does that, because if he forced us to love him, we'd be nothing more than robots that would not reflect his image and likeness. We have to be free to do that. So he has to use his powers of persuasion to get us to love him back and to be like him. The most powerful emblem of love with which he persuades us to love him back, I think, is the cross. No matter what season, Advent, Christmas, we always got to look at the cross. Now, the dry theology of how his dying on the cross saves us from sin and death is this. His dying on the cross satisfies justice because he died and took the punishment we deserved for our sins. We accept his gift of salvation and mercy when we put our faith in him and the saving action of his death and resurrection. As I said, that's the dry theology. To put it more poetically, we look at the cross and Christ hangs there and says to us, "See how much I love you. See the lengths I'm willing to go to get your attention. See how ugly sin is. See where sin ends up. See how you're hurting yourselves and one another. Just stop it," he says. "Drop the baggage and come back to me." And that's how we rise with him to new life. And rising with him means getting on board the train which takes us to the fullness of the kingdom. His mercy is such that no matter what we've done, and I share this not only for us, but for the folks who don't believe God's mercy is inexhaustible and are kept away from the church, away from faith, away from God, because they don't think they can be forgiven. Pope Francis wants us to spread the good news that that's a lie. No matter what any of us have done, we can come back. All Jesus wants us to do is drop that baggage and get on board the train. And the sacrament of reconciliation is the way par excellence to drop that baggage. We're going to be hearing a lot about that in the Year of Mercy. That's why at Advent we have Mass on Tuesday nights instead of in the morning at 7, followed by the opportunity to go and enjoy the celebration of the sacrament of reconciliation. We drop the baggage. If we do this, we don't have to die of fright at the prospect of the Lord's coming. We can embrace him with joy. But it's hard for us to fathom the depths of God's forgiveness. And if we are tempted to believe that lie, that we can't be forgiven, let's look at the Bible and some of the characters God has called to do some of the most important things. Think about King David, leader of the chosen people. Well, he was an adulterer and a murderer, quite literally, but God took him back. St. Paul was a zealot who practically was a murderer in his quest to stamp out the early church. Matthew, one of the 12 apostles, one of the 4 evangelists, was a tax collector, which means he was a thief with a license to steal, and he extorted his own people as a traitor. Like them, we can feel like we've lost or thrown away so much that we've lost our ticket to board the train. I've never lost a ticket to board a train, but I did lose a ticket to board a plane once. A friend of mine and I were on vacation, going on vacation to Canada. My friend was responsible for the tickets. Now, these are back in the days when you couldn't just print out the boarding pass at the airport. You actually physically had to have the ticket. So my friend shows up. We go to the airport, we hand the tickets, so I thought, to the guy behind the desk. He rifles through them and says, "Where's the other ticket?" I says, "What do you mean?" He says, "I only see one ticket here." I look at my friend whose face went white. My friend said, "Oh, that's what fell behind the bureau this morning when I was in a rush." I looked at the guy and said, "What do we do?" He says to my friend, "You bought it on a credit card, we'll cancel that purchase out. We know there's one ticket going to be available on the plane. We'll buy that, you'll get on board." And his fingers are flying, he's typing, sparks are flying off of his fingertips. Of course, because we were late, he pumps out a new ticket, gives it to us, we get on board the plane. It almost immediately starts taxiing down the runway after we sat down on our way to Canada. That guy was like Jesus to me. He saved my vacation, or at least the portion of it I would have missed because of our own foolhardiness. And so, if we think we've lost our ticket, well, Jesus gets it back for us. He'll even go dumpster diving if he has to. For what is the cross but his dumpster diving to retrieve what we've thrown away. We look at that, and he retrieves the lost ticket and says, see, I saved it for you. Now just get on board. You can thank me by living a new life as my disciple. And so we end as we began, with a song, which I hope has more powerful meaning for us right now. People get ready, the trains are coming. Don't need no baggage. He wants us to just drop that baggage. You just get on board. All you need is faith to hear the diesels humming. Don't need no ticket. Well, if we do, Jesus has got it safe for us. You just thank the Lord.